According to collegefactual.com, Flagler College is below the national average in racial and ethnic diversity, with almost 80% of its student body identifying as white. Less than 4% of Flagler College students are Black or African American, some of whom say the low numbers are evident in the classroom.
I have felt like there's been moments where there has been some blatant ignorance. I've been in a Keystone class. That's probably where the worst experience happened for me. We spoke a lot about slavery. We spoke a lot about the civil rights movement that happened here in St. Augustine. And a lot of people are actually ignorant to the history that we have here. People think that in St. Augustine we don't deal with racism anymore. They think that it's something that is just something that happened in the past in places like Montgomery, Alabama, and that's pretty much it. And so it's really difficult to deal with classes like that where I kind of have to step in and teach people, including the professors who are ignorant to the fact that we have so much history here in St. Augustine.
While the last U.S. Census from 2010 shows that the fastest growing ethnic group nationwide is Asian Americans, the Flagler College student body is less than 1% so. Flagler College is probably even less diverse than what the college factual data shows because almost 5% of its students are in the unknown category and almost 3% are international, many of whom are white.
From my office's standpoint, it would be anybody who checks a box other than white or unknown as part of the admissions process when we report to IPEDS.
IPEDS, or the Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System, is the main collection of federal education data. Miller says that Flagler is trying to lower the number of students in its unknown race and ethnicity category.
The one thing I think we need to do a better job with is, and we've done it over the last 5 years, is really getting kids off of the unknown category. There's a tendency in admissions for some students to mark unknown or not select a racial ethnic category, just in their eyes out of fairness in the process or not wanting to divulge that, and it's not required. Once they enroll, we need to be following up to get a category, because there's nothing from my end that's more painful than putting unknowns when I submit to IPEDS for students where we know they have an ethnicity or a race, and we need to just follow up and make sure we're filling that out. There's no reason that shouldn't be 100%.
Out of Flagler College's around 2,600 students, around 100 are Black or African American. The numbers are even lower among Flagler's 106 full-time faculty, of whom only 2 are Black or African American, and only 2 are Asian American as well.
I don't think this semester I have a single professor that's anything but Caucasian, and I would feel a little more comfortable if there was a professor anywhere on the spectrum with a little more ethnic background, but I don't see that here.
Deborah Thompson came to Flagler last year to take charge of its enrollment and says both faculty and staff diversity are important.
I would like to see more diversity within our staff and within our faculty, because it's important to our students of color to be able to see people who look like them and have those role models and mentors on campus.
Junior Jabila Asante, who was born and spent her childhood in England and whose parents are from Ghana, hopes faculty diversity would lessen stereotyping and generalizations about Blacks and African Americans in the classroom.
I am in many cases looked to as somewhat of a voice for African Americans. A prime example would be in a political class when speaking on Barack Obama and the fact that he is less leftist than that of Bill Clinton. And when the class began to bicker, my teacher turned directly to me and asked me how I felt about Barack Obama and whether or not I was for him due to his racial background. That was a bit uncomfortable.
Flagler College junior Shalana Ronson says she is often uncomfortable outside the classroom as well.
I have natural hair, and I went natural in the first senior year of my high school. So I was going natural. I was transitioning then, and I was transitioning in the first couple of years here. So I'm natural now, and I still have people touching my hair and stuff like that. Even though people that I know who know better than to do that type of thing still do it, and they're just like, "Oh, your hair is just so, it's just so different." I'm like, "Okay, but stop touching my hair. Stop touching my person. It's not a petting zoo. I'm not an animal. Stop touching me." I don't go around, yanking on, white girls' hair because it's their personal space. I don't do that. So don't pretend like you know me well enough where I'm going to let you touch my person.
The Flagler College Faculty Senate recognizes the problem and created a diversity committee during fall 2013. Flagler's new first-year experience director, Jill Miller, says on-campus organizations for students of color are needed as well.
It did surprise me that we didn't have, for example, a Black student union on campus that was active, or clubs that might cater to other diverse populations. That being said, these are largely student-driven organizations, and I would certainly encourage students to support the creation of those. I think that it would really create a place for us to direct new students to help them connect with people that they might identify with and share a common history with.
Resident advisor and international studies major Ranson agrees with Miller.
I think that most minority students, like our international students and like our Black students, don't really stay on campus. They're here for classes and they leave because they recognize that there's not a lot here for them, so they don't bother being on campus. I don't even remember the last time I saw at a extracurricular activity, the last time I saw, that wasn't a Glee event, the last time I saw a Black person. You might see one or two, but unless you're at a basketball game, I don't really see them after classes are over. I see them in D Hall basketball games, and that's about it.
Many of Flagler's Black and African American students were disheartened last semester when the Gargoyle published an opinion article which called African Americans animals. Flagler's response to the article prompted them to demonstrate during finals week, hoping to be heard as the kind of group Miller supports. But some Flagler administrators don't agree with considering race and ethnicity the central characteristics of a student.
I think that to put all students of color together is a bit is to generalize. I think that there's tremendous variety among students of color. So I would want to know, for example, if a student's in trouble, something about their academic preparation. Are they a first-generation college student? It seems to me there are other relevant factors that may or may not be related to racial and ethnic background.
Flagler College Residence Life Director Michelle Holland shares Woolfolk's post-racial approach.
I've worked in housing 5 or 6 years now, and a student is a student is a student. And I don't look at them based off of color. I love my students. They're the most important things to me, and I think it's irrelevant.
But for Hostin, race and ethnicity organized life at Flagler too much to be ignored.
I would say that only seeing people of color working in custodial positions and dining hall positions, things like that, has a negative effect on people of color, but I also think it has a negative effect of other people as well, because to them, that's how they see us, and it just kind of furthers the stereotypes. So it ends up affecting people of color, but it also affects the other people's perspective, where they think that that's all we can do, they think that we can't be in leadership positions, and so it's even harder to kind of get them out of that mindset, because all it does is further prove the stereotypes. And so because we're not represented in more important, more significant positions, that just adds to the stereotype, it adds to prejudices, and so that in long term will affect the people of color.
Flagler College is mostly white faculty and student body, and having people of color mostly in custodial, housekeeping, and dining hall positions are probably to some degree a reflection of the college's surrounding community, which surprises many students from northern states.
The first couple months here at Flagler, I was walking down St. George Street on 2 different occasions, and people with Georgia license plates, they're not actually from the area, but coming through, they were using some backwards language. They called me the N-word as I was walking down the street. And definitely that's something that I haven't had a lot of experience with, being from Connecticut. And it was shocking. And at first, I was really angry. You always hear about how people get, really upset and they want to, fight somebody. And, those feelings definitely came upon me. But at the same time, I had this overwhelming sense of just, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry that you are cutting yourself off from this entire section of society.
According to the 2010 U.S. Census, 15% of college students nationwide are Black and African American. I am AJ Frazier for FCTV News Center.